Spinning. Hello, hello. I got the big guy with me today.
What do you mean, big guy? You calling me fat?
You did. I call myself that.
Kettle in the pot.
Exactly, right? But I got Big Bob.
Hi.
And we're talking about this podcast that he's got. You know, he's got some of the coolest guests. And today we're going to share with you Bishop Haupt, who's been a pastor in the area for a long time.
40 years.
40 years. Not only that, but he likes relationships. He appreciates relationships. And you've had a relationship with him for a long time.
40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 40 years.
And you guys don't necessarily have the same philosophy.
Oh, no, we have the same core values.
Mm-hmm.
We have the same passions. We have the same love for people and service.
Well, that says a lot.
Yeah.
And when you have all of that, then you can agree to disagree on some things and move on.
Oh, look, he might be a Democrat. I don't care.
He might be. He's on the Kansas, Missouri side.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is, right? But, you know, you've had some really neat people on your show.
I've had some really neat people in my life.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So the people in my life are sharing my podcast with me.
They sure are. So, you know, when we talked with Kyle Witherspoon with Johnny's Taverns, you asked him a question about college.
Oh, if I remember, it was 6 years and didn't graduate.
Right. Yeah. And his dad was like, "Hey, buddy, all of our, you know, people who go to school that long."
Joe Bazone, Mr. Goodsense, never went to college.
There was somebody else too that didn't go to college. I think it was just Mr. Bazone.
In my business, I've had 2 different presidents of Big Bobs of America,
Mm-hmm.
my franchise company. Neither one of them graduated from college, but they were presidents of my business.
And they worked hard.
They worked hard, smart.
You know, there's something to be
done.
said. Would you agree that we need to go back to more VOTEC and trade schools?
Oh, that's been a passion of mine for a long time. If you want to, I believe, if you want to fix America, we have to rebuild the middle class.
Yes.
And my position on rebuilding the middle class is having a working class, blue collar society that fills the gap between the haves and the have-nots. People who are making $80,000 a year plus, buying their own home,
Mm-hmm.
have 2 cars, send their kids to college if they want to. But we need a sustainable, quality middle class to save America. And I believe VOTEC, though I hate the word VOTEC, and I would do away with that, who wants to go to a trade school?
Mm-hmm. I think that's what they call it now.
Right, trade
Yes.
school, VOTEC. If you're a plumber, you're a professional plumber.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an electrician, you're a professional electrician. I think we should call it professional education.
Oh, I like that.
And that way you get a degree where you're a professional electrician, you're making great salary, and you have the opportunity to create your own business where you own and operate your own business.
So you can still be the entrepreneur if that's what you want.
Right.
Or
And by the way,
the small
no matter
business
where
owner.
AI goes, they're not going to be able to fix a toilet.
No, they're not.
AI is not going to be able to be a carpenter.
Mm-mm.
AI is not going to be able to do a lot of things. And I think
let's face it, that's what makes our world run.
Right.
In any country, it
Right.
is the people who are building.
Service.
Yes, absolutely. Right. You know, you had mentioned service is a big part of what you want to do now, and,
Mm-hmm.
and to give back, and to other people should always be doing that as well. But you also said something that I thought was very interesting, coming from the person that you are, knowing your business background. And you said that service is something that should be done by everybody because somebody has always helped you.
There's nobody who has not benefited from
Mm-hmm.
the village.
That's right.
And I think not everybody can discover water. Not everybody can dig a well, but everybody should be able to carry the water back to the village. And if you're successful enough where you can do more than carry your share of the water, you should carry somebody else's share of the water.
Mm.
And that is servicing the village.
It sure
Servicing,
is.
everybody should do as much as they can to help as many as they can.
And there was a time that you also depended on the village.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Still do.
You also
We
made
still
a
do.
yeah. You know, we do more than we really want to admit. You know, you also made a comment about being an entrepreneur and being entrepreneurial.
And being entrepreneur
Hmm.
and being entrepreneurial. Big difference.
There is.
Somebody who buys or starts a barber shop, he's not an entrepreneur. He might be entrepreneurial, but he's not an entrepreneur. He's a small business owner.
Hmm.
If you work for a large company, you keep on coming up with great ideas, you're an entrepreneur. You're coming up with great ideas for somebody else. If you're going into business where there's a touchstone or an existing business model that does the same things you do, that's not an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is someone who creates an opportunity out of a void.
And
There's
then
no
nothing.
touchstones, no examples. There's no playbook. You just go out, you build a widget, and
I
if the
have to
widget
agree with
hasn't been,
that.
yeah,
I do, and when I tell this to people, sometimes it's very
offensive.
heated.
Yeah, they say, no, I'm an entrepreneur. Look, if you start a shoe store, are you an entrepreneur? You can go get a job at another shoe store, work your way up into management, find out how they buy shoes, how they merchandise shoes, how they warehouse shoes, how they sell shoes, how they advertise for shoes. There's nothing there that hasn't been done before. An entrepreneur, by my definition, is someone who creates a business that never existed before.
That's right.
Right,
I have lived that, so I completely
right.
I agree with that. Nothing was given to me. I had to earn everything. I had to work hard. I had to establish it.
Have you always worked hard?
I have always worked hard. Well, no, I've had some time where I hadn't as a kid, but I have worked hard as an adult. Yes.
I mean, one of the coaches speaks I use with my kids is between the ages of 20 and 40, you have to work 60 hours a week
Hmm.
to get 40 hours of work done because you're not smart enough or experienced enough to be able to fast track all the things you got to do. Between the ages of 40 and 60, you have to work 60 hours a week to get 60 hours of work done. Well, after 60, with experience and knowledge and all the things you've accumulated, you can start working 40 hours a week
Hmm.
and still get your 60 hours of work done. But there's no easy path to success.
No,
And if you're not willing to work harder than the guy standing next to you, how do you expect to ever have more than he does
you won't.
or accomplish more or be
Hmm.
promoted
You're
or
just going
make
to
more
continue
money
to make excuses as to why
or
me,
entitlements?
whoa me. Yes,
Well, I'm
that's right.
entitled to. Well, I think that's bullshit
It
too.
is.
You're not entitled crap.
Nope,
You got
you're
to go
not.
out and earn it.
And when you are entitled, it changes your whole way of life. You wouldn't if everything was stripped from you when you're entitled and you're getting it, you wouldn't know how to live. You're going to have a hard lesson. I mean, you're going to learn.
I don't have a lot of empathy for people who are not willing to work hard for what they want.
I don't either.
Right.
You know, I watched my parents work hard. I work hard. I try to get my kids to work hard. You know, everybody's our younger generation, and my children do. They work really hard, but some of them are entrepreneurs, and some of them are not. And there's nothing wrong with
Oh,
not
no,
being
no,
one.
no, no. Look, if we were all entrepreneurs, who would do the heavy lifting for you?
Mhm.
Who'd be the employees?
That's right. But you know, most entrepreneurs start out the bookkeeper, the salesperson, the ops manager, the service provider, anything and everything that goes into that business they have to do. And
Right.
yeah, they do. And if you're not willing to do that, I can't tell you how many toilets I have cleaned. I've cleaned a lot of toilets.
Have you really?
I have cleaned a lot of toilets.
Tell me a good toilet story.
No.
Come on. One really good toilet story.
I have seen a lot of toilet stories. I've seen a lot of smeared stuff in the toilets too. On the walls, on the floors, on the ceilings, tiles.
Just one toilet story. Come on.
They're disgusting. I have seen kids play in a dirty toilet. in a
Kids.
public place. I have walked in where parents are not watching them and kids letting kids play in a nasty stopped up toilet with you name it is in there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they see them and all hell breaks loose.
All right.
No, I've got some serious stuff. There, some places should be condemned.
Absolutely.
Mhm. They should.
Hopefully, there are no restaurants I've been to.
You know, that's the other thing. I've seen a lot of dirty restaurants. Oh,
So, I was 16 years old. I had hitchhiked to Cape Cod, and when I needed money, I got a job. And when I didn't need money, I was a beach bum and just played around a lot. So one of my jobs was at a department store, and I had to mop the floors, clean the windows, and clean the bathrooms. That was my job. By the way, the women's bathrooms were a lot nastier than the men's bathrooms.
it
Who would have
depends.
thought? But it's true.
It
And
depends.
one day, I hear over the loudspeaker, with the assistant maintenance engineer, please come to the front desk. And I keep mopping the floor. Assistant maintenance engineer, come to the front desk. I keep mopping my floor.
He was talking to you.
The boss coming in, didn't you hear them call? What, me? He says, yeah, you're the assistant maintenance engineer. I'm 16-year-old kid mopping floors and cleaning bathrooms. I'm going, you got to be kidding. Ever since then, I've had no use for titles.
Yeah,
I think
they mean
titles are
nothing.
just right.
Mhm. You kind of have some funky titles on your card, though.
I do. I'm getting a new business card, aren't I?
You are. It should be coming in any day. You want to
Oh,
talk
I'm
about
looking
that?
forward to it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, with Brenda's permission and support, I've taken my normal business card,
Mhm.
and on the back side of it is going to be the Being the Best You Foundation with their logo. And when I give out the card, I said, "This is who I am." Flip it over, and this is what I believe in.
It's a
And
great card.
it's going to be a beautiful card.
Hmm. It is. And people tell you if you believe in something, you should stand up for it. Because if you're not willing to stand up for it, then you really don't believe in it. And Isabel Black talks about that a lot. Believe in your truth. Stand in your truth. Stand in what you believe in.
What else is there to stand up for
You'd be
if not what you
surprised.
believe in?
That's so true. But some people are afraid to voice what they believe in.
Some people are afraid of their own voice.
That's a good one. I do have one toilet story.
Okay.
So we had this guy, they kept complaining that the bathroom was dirty. And it was in corporate America. Everybody's wearing suits.
No addresses, no names. Good.
This guy kept complaining that the bathroom always smelled like pee and there's always pee on the wall. Well, I would go in, take a picture, I videoed it, the bathroom's clean. About 10 o'clock, I'm getting the call again. I'm thinking, so I'm standing outside the door. I'm going to catch whoever this is. It was like a sprinkler in there. Seriously. All from the wall, all the way around and back. So we stand outside.
No cameras.
No cameras.
Not allowed to have a camera in the bathroom.
Nope. So after everybody used the bathroom, we went in, nothing. Come back out, wait. Go back in, nothing. Come back out, wait. Go back in, something. We caught him. We caught the guy. This guy was like 7 foot tall. He was doing it on purpose. It was
Just going.
Yeah, it's exactly what he was doing. I could tell you story after story after story in the janitorial industry of things.
Wait a second. What happened to him?
I just let his boss handle it because I was just a lowly janitor.
Did he get fired? Did he get fined?
I think he just got reprimanded
for spraying the walls.
For spraying the walls. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I mean, what is he, 2? Yeah, it was a big deal.
All right.
It was a big deal. But you asked for the story.
I'm sorry I asked.
So you guys ready to watch an episode? You can go on over to whatsupbigbob.com and you can see everything that's out. But this guy right here has been this 40-year friend of Big Bob.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he's having his 70th birthday party at the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
And you got RSVP, of course, but it's going to be a very special event. See you there.
Yeah, so watch, guys. Oh, wait a minute. We got some people on here. We have, hey, that's Isabel Black saying hello. Hello, Izzy.
Hi, Izzy.
And let's see, Jeff Ryder. How are you?
Jeff.
Yes. Let's see. So we got 2 people on, a whole 2 people.
Normally we get 6.
I know. What's going on? It's your problem. You're not
It's
bringing
me.
them in
It's
today.
me. Wait. What's the most we've ever had watch?
28 actually.
I thought we had like 600 people watch
Oh no, I'm talking about during a live.
during
But
live.
going back, we've had almost 700 people watching. Going back watching the replays. Yes. So almost 700.
It's more than the 6 I thought we'd get.
See, that's right. You need to up your game.
700. Jeez.
All right, guys. And I see Izzy says stand firm. She says stand firm because we were talking about beliefs and I brought her name up. I didn't even know she was watching.
I thought maybe she was talking about something about the bathroom.
No, we're not standing firm in the bathroom.
Okay.
Can't take him anywhere. All right, let's watch this episode.
I'm Big Bob.
And I'm Ann.
What's up? What's up, Big Bob? Ann Butinas is not here. Usually she'd say, "What's up, Ann?" But she's taken a sick day or a work day, or she's not here anyways. But we have
My dear friend.
my dear friend. Give me some.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I love you,
I love you too.
Bishop.
Yeah, Pastor Halp is good enough. Steve Halp.
I like Bishop.
You do?
Yes,
Okay.
because it's like a doctor is no longer a mister. A colonel is no longer a major. You got promoted.
Yeah.
You got promoted, and it's not like somebody gave you the promotion. It's something that you dedicated your whole life to,
Certainly.
and this was part of the rewards.
Well, there were a lot of folk around the country, great leaders, in fact, who kind of insisted upon it, and I finally yielded to it and received the honor. But I'm grateful. But I like just Pastor Steve. That's good for me.
You know, when because I was at the ceremony when you went from pastor to bishop.
Yes, sir.
And all the people in your sphere were going, well, Pat, and I said, you can't say pastor anymore. Now it's bishop.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It
Yes, sir.
is, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm so proud of you. You
Thank you.
accomplished so much,
Thank you.
and nothing was given to you. You can say God, you can say divine intervention, but you did not start out on a clear, beautiful, wonderful path to success. Tell me about your beginnings.
Well, yeah, you and I have talked. We've been friends now, what, about 32 years or more?
More.
And my beginnings, I was raised by my father. And it was just he and I was raised in a house with no running water ever.
Really?
Never had electricity.
Outhouse?
Raised on an outhouse and cut wood, gathered kindling.
In the United States?
In the United States. Isn't that
No
something?
running water in the United States. What was this?
Outhouse. Was it
Was this
down south?
150 years ago?
No. Just not many years ago at all.
But by the way, I just got invited to his 70th birthday party that's taking place in about 6 weeks.
Yes, sir. In a few more days, can you believe it? I'll be 70 years old. And I'm so excited about it. As I just shared with you.
You look like you're still in your 50s.
God's good, man.
Yeah.
I was sharing with you before we actually went on that I had a dear friend who was an attorney in Indianapolis. Brilliant guy when we were in school. And he went to sleep the other day and didn't wake up. So we celebrated his life on Friday.
You know, when it's my time, I like to go to sleep and not wake up. I don't want to go through that pain of 6 months to live and have all this time agita and stress of saying goodbye. I like to have maybe a week or so to say goodbyes, but going to sleep and not waking up is not a bad way of going.
Well, that's wonderful. The amazing thing is we don't get to choose.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back to
My life.
yeah.
You know, I was a pretty decent athlete, they said.
Oh, wait,
and-
how decent is pretty decent?
You know, I got a few awards.
Well, okay, what kind of awards you got?
At any rate, I came in.
What sports did you play?
I played football and basketball. I loved football because you could hit people and not get in trouble. But I got more accolades in basketball. And being raised in that kind of environment, I had a lot of time. I used to shoot a little ball in a bushel basket. Probably most of your viewing audience don't know what a bushel basket is, but the ball didn't bounce. But I got pretty good at putting a little ball in a little circle, and it did quite well, you know, on the basketball court.
I know you don't brag about yourself. How good were you?
It was the last game of the season. A guy named Jeff Keener, I think he's in Kentucky now, but he and I were battling for the championship, scoring championship.
Right.
And I had
What, for the league?
for the whole league, yeah, for the whole city, everything.
The whole city.
And he had one of his best games, and I had one of my worst games.
That's because you weren't checking them.
I don't know what it was, but it just didn't work out. Anyway, I came in second place, got a lot of honors for that. And then time went on, as I said, being raised by my father. I came home from school at 17 years old from basketball practice and found my father dead. 17. And you know what? Like somebody came and said, "Hey, Steve," my real name is Stevie. You know, your dad. We found you. You know, I found it. And man, the things that went through my mind at that time.
World.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
And he was my world. And at 17. And so they were discussing in the city about putting me in a children's home.
foster care.
But I was too, you know, independent because of the way I grew up. At any rate, a man took me in that you happened to meet when they did the elevation service, which was a pastor in Ohio who just
Springfield.
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 Yeah, Bishop Pratt was his name.
Right outside of Columbus.
Yes, sir. And he just took a liking to me, just thought, you know,
Understand why.
saw something was in me, brought me into his home, loved me like his son. And that eliminated me going to a foster thing, which wouldn't have worked for me anyway.
How challenging were you in your teenage years? Were you a problem child?
No, sir.
You never got on the wrong side?
No, sir.
All right.
And that had to do with the way my father raised me. Always raised me to respect people, to be honorable, don't steal. I'm not saying I didn't borrow things, but he did teach me, you know, not to borrow things.
Too much or not enough is made of child rearing. I don't think enough people realize that it's the single greatest chore a parent has in his whole life is taking care of that baby past independence, past emancipation.
Yes, sir.
And being a parent.
Yes, sir.
Single greatest job,
Yes, sir.
greatest reward, greatest obligation
Yes, sir.
is being a parent.
In light of what you're saying, you're literally talking about being entrusted with another human being,
Right.
And their outcome, which you have a vital role in their outcome. And for the 17 years that I had my father, man, he instilled, you know, good work ethics, honesty, integrity.
Was he military?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He was military, which goes to the point. At 18 years old, we was talking about these guys that I went back home to see in Indianapolis. These guys went on to do really some great things in basketball, but they didn't know my plight, the things I was dealing with after practice.
Right.
So I wound up going into the military while they were going on to college. I went to Vietnam.
First decent pair of shoes you probably ever had.
Well, I can say this, it brought great comfort. I knew I was going to get 3 meals a day. It may not have been what I've ordered, but it took a load off my back of that side of life.
It's easy to look back and say, well, yeah, I survived. I thrived, but it wasn't easy.
I don't think life is easy.
No.
I don't think it was designed to be easy.
No.
I think life was and is designed to make us something to fulfill our God-given calling and purpose.
To that, my new passion is being the best you. And it's a foundation that Brenda has set up, and it has four pillars. It has a pillar of health and wellness, financial survival to success, a pillar of service, and a pillar of,
It'll come to you.
what am I missing?
Financial health and wellness,
Financial health,
spiritual, emotional, service.
spiritual, and emotional,
Ah,
right? And it's supposed to be easier. And what you have done with your life is you're doing the same thing that Brenda is trying to do, is help people elevate their lives. And you've done it not just emotional and spiritual through your church, but the education and the school. Let's talk a little bit more about. We'll get it all over. We'll get it all out. You go in the military. You're in Vietnam.
yes.
Did you shoot somebody?
I did some things. I don't really know who I hit or didn't hit.
But we can't talk about it.
No, sir.
And nor should we.
And you know, I did my duty, and I'm grateful to God that I was able to come back. And when I say come back, I'm not talking about just physically, but to have a measure of mental capacity
A lot of people didn't
in
come
coming back.
back. A lot of people didn't come back healthy.
I'm really grateful. I was evaluated by a doctor. She's out of Atlanta now. She did a lot of work for the auto industry because of the stress sometimes the employees get involved in on the assembly line and stuff. And she made a comment one day. She said, "You're the most," what did she say? You're the healthiest whole. She said, "You're the healthiest, one of the most whole, complete people I've ever encountered in my counseling that had been to Vietnam."
Right.
In return.
When did you find God?
I found God at an early age in my life. I mean, like I said, growing up like I did, my dad always made me go to church. He didn't go,
Right,
but he made me go. So at an early age, and I don't get in an argument or a debate about with anybody, but you know, living in that shack, and I say shack because when it rained, I put cans out, slop jars out. Sometimes my dad would be gone 2 or 3 days at a time. I didn't know where he was at. I'm 5 years old, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And so I learned how to talk to God. And sometimes, particularly like today, it's so hot outside. And when you talk about no electricity, you know, air conditioning is not an option.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So, well, you can't imagine. And I'm thinking about it as we're talking. And sometimes people hear my story and they think it's unbelievable. But when you're in it,
You didn't know you're.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
You didn't know you were poor.
I didn't know not taking a bath, you know, when I take a bath, maybe sometime once every month and a half or 2
Right.
months or whatever. And then washing in the morning, going to school every day with the same water, taking, I don't know if you know anything about Joe bacon and all the grease that you get from it. And, you know, back in those days, people put the grease in the can.
Right.
And then, you get a little bit out and rub it on your hand, melt it, put it on your face and all that, and go to school shining. And a day like today, man, you cooking in the classroom. The kids would make fun. I went through all of that. But all of that made me. All of that made me who I am today.
Did you ever feel sorry for yourself back then?
I didn't know to feel sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I mean, you might feel sorry for yourself today.
Yeah, I did.
Back then, you didn't know any better.
Yeah, I didn't know to feel sorry. And my wife, who you know, who's a Jew educator
Right.
for over 40-something years, got her undergrad at Southern University, got her master's at Louisiana State, got her doctorate a couple of years ago in education. And she said something to me one day because she taught kids like me.
Right.
And she said, you were neglected. Now, if anybody else would have said that to
You
me,
slapped them.
oh, we'd have had real trouble.
Right.
It'd have been trouble in the city.
She loved you and telling you.
She spoke to me from a teacher's perspective, looking at a
Right.
child's journey.
in spite of the neglect.
Yes, sir.
And it wasn't that your father neglected you; it's society neglected you.
Well, I don't know if she put society in the equation. I think she meant more specifically that I was neglected by my father. And though he gave me a whole lot of things, there was a lot of things that she felt that I should have had.
Was he
that I
capable
didn't
of
have.
giving more?
I don't think he was capable. He only had a third grade education. My dad couldn't read.
I think he
He
did the
couldn't
best he
write.
could do.
But he could build it. He was a bricklayer,
Right.
a cement finisher from North Carolina. And then another thing, he smoked and he drank a lot and other things. And by the time I came along, because my daddy was an older man compared to my mother, his health had failed and was failing. And so when I came along, what he had before I came, all of that evaporated. You know, one time I'm sure people have said that the house that I lived in was once upon a time a nice house. But when I came along, I mean, you follow me? I mean, the roof was leaking, no electricity,
No running water.
no running water, the whole gamut. And, you know, I cut wood every day. I can't tell you how many holes got in my foot, stepping on the pile of wood and nails going through my feet. And I'm hollering. And my dad would come out to the wood pile and put his foot on the 2x4 and take my feet and pull my feet off of the nail, take me in the shack and put fire up under my foot. And some of you old folks may know what that remedy is. Put fire under my feet, take some old Joe bacon and with a rag and wrap it around. And that's what I did. You didn't go to the hospital. You know, when I got the mumps, my daddy gave me sardines and put the sardine juice on my jaw. And when I had something on my head, you know, what do you call it, like a rash or something, my dad would take your urine. And
I just can't relate.
That's how I live.
I just can't relate.
That's how I live.
I mean, it's almost out of a movie that you want to cry about.
That's how I live. That was my journey.
You got out of the military.
Yes.
What do you do?
First of all, when I was in the military, I played ball. You know, it was one, what in the world are you doing in the military? So I got a number of offers when I was in the military to colleges and universities to play after I got out. And so I got out 3 months early, in fact. They gave me a 3-month early out to go play ball in college. I got out, went to college, but I didn't play ball because I needed to make a living.
Right.
And so I was 21 years old when I got out. And I bought my first house at 21.
No.
Now that was one of the benefits of being raised with my father, even though it was a shack.
Did it have running water?
Oh my goodness, I wouldn't have bought it. It had electricity, I wouldn't have bought it. But the reason I bought the house was because, as bad as some people may say my situation was, I didn't know anything about renting.
Right.
It was a shack, but we owned it.
Right.
And so that ownership, you know, got into my psyche. And so when I got out of the military, I never thought of apartment or anything like that, but buying a house.
When I speak to young kids, I talk to them about nature, nurture, luck, and choices. And with the choices, and that's the only thing you have control over. You don't have control over nature. You don't have control over nurturing. You don't have any control over luck, a little bit, right place, wrong time. But you have control over choices. And with choices come the consequences.
Certainly.
You made all the right choices. And you reap the reward of not making any bad choices. And that is part of your blessing. Part of your blessing, my friend, is God graced you for not making bad decisions. And that is one of the reasons you have always been on the path of success. Okay, you own a house. What are you doing for income?
My profession in the military, I was in aviation, so I was around aircraft. So it was always easy for me to get a job. Always had a good job.
Right.
Always made good money. And then I was using my GI Bill to go to school, the whole gamut.
What did you study?
Business. In fact, I got a degree in business management. Yeah.
Are you managing a business today?
I think to some degree, ministry is business.
And if it's not, it doesn't survive.
I'm telling you, if you don't do good business.
Right. Yeah. No, seriously, the churches that don't survive is because it's not run as a business.
Right. Right. As a matter of fact, to your point, I think today, you almost have to be as good or better a business person as you are a preacher, because no matter how good you can preach or teach, if you don't know how to do business when you come out of the pulpit,
right,
it can it can sink
You got to
everything.
live within your means.
Yes, sir. The whole gamut.
You got to make sure that there's enough left over for
Yes,
this,
sir.
this,
You got a
this.
plan. You got a budget.
Right.
As a matter of fact, because you're the same person, pretty much you run the church the same way you run your house. So however you take care of responsibilities in your house,
right,
usually that's the same way you're going to take on responsibility in the church. It's just a bigger house with bigger expenses, but the way you approach it and how you deal with it is pretty much the same.
So you're in your mid-20s, you start having kids.
I didn't have my first child, my son, my oldest son, who you met, who I named after myself, when I was 28. I was 28 when I had my first child.
All right, so you weren't a young parent. How many boys you got?
I got 5 sons.
5 sons.
5 sons and 1 daughter.
Well, you must
And all of them are military guys. 3 of them, Stephen, Justin, and Darrell, they went to Iraq and Afghanistan.
Thank you for their service.
Benjamin, he did all this time mostly in Germany. And then my youngest son, who works for me now, he did majority of his time in Korea. He stayed in longer than everybody else too.
By the way, I'm engaged to a Korean gal.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we'll bring you some kimchi.
Hopefully from South Korea.
We'll bring you some kimchi. Ask him.
No offense taken. No offense.
Ask him if you want some homemade
Or
kimchi.
given.
Ask him if he wants some homemade kimchi.
Okay, I'll let you ask.
All right. What about your daughter?
She lives in Dallas. My wife and I, as you know, we raised all of them. All my children. I got them all. I raised all my children.
Well, that's because your father did.
And that's why I fought for
Right.
all of them.
Right.
And the Lord opened the door for me to get them at a young age. We raised them. They all finished high school. They all finished college. And the youngest son I just mentioned, that was the reason why he stayed in the military so long. He wanted to finish college before he got out. And he majored in human relations. So he's running all of that in the ministry now.
Right.
And boy, it's taking a load off of my shoulders.
Well, delegation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
sir.
had to let go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Was it easy for you to let go?
I would have to say no, because to some degree, I still have my hands
Well,
on a
nobody can
few
do it as
things.
well as you do it. So your church started out small. How small?
Started out with just me and my children.
Really?
And I taught in the apartment that I stayed in when I first came to Kansas City, just before you and I met. I didn't know a soul. When I came to Kansas City, I didn't know anybody. Had never been to Kansas City.
Right.
I came thinking I had a job because I was in aviation with Eastern Airlines.
Okay.
Before I could get from Tulsa after finishing Bible college, Eastern Airlines filed bankruptcy, folded, left Kansas City. But I'd already had the assignment to come to Kansas
Right.
City. And so I came anyway. And it was a difficult journey. I held a couple of meetings in Ramada Inn. They're no longer here anymore.
Right.
And then I went to a corporate office. I held the services there. They were charging me $10 an hour. And I made sure the service didn't last but an hour. And then we moved to Adams Mark Hotel. And then the fire marshal was asking us to get out because, telling the hotel, not us directly, but the hotel that they can't hold services in Adams Mark because we had more people in the hallway than we had in the actual room. They were just coming
You had
from
a big
everywhere.
congregation then.
Well, when I say it was more in the hallway, the room probably wouldn't hold but 50 people, but it was still a
Well,
fire
wait a second.
hazard.
I didn't think your congregation that big when we met.
When you and I met, we were probably running 90 folk when we
90
first met. When we
90
first met,
people.
when we moved in next door to you, and I started cutting our grass and your grass. You remember that?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
So how big is the church now?
Well, we have several thousand now
Families or members?
members.
Several thousand. How big was it before pandemic? Was it a lot bigger?
It was bigger in a sense before the pandemic. It's kind of being redefined now because we now have more e-church people who stream our services as a result of the pandemic
Okay.
that perhaps we didn't have before.
So you moved from location next to us.
We moved from Adams Mark to you
Right.
and from you to Raytown.
Right. And Then you move
From Raytown, we purchased that mall. It was one of the first churches in the country, perhaps, to purchase a mall.
How big is the mall?
It was over 10 acres under one roof. That's not counting the 8 theaters nor the gymnasium. And then we own all the land that's
And
around.
is it a 250,000 square feet?
Over.
Over 250,000
Yes,
square
sir.
feet.
Yeah, combined. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Right. And then, we bought a campsite out by the airport, 100 acres with a cabin and all that on it. Then we have a church in St. Joe's, Missouri, and we have a church in Topeka, Kansas.
What else you got?
We own a bunch of land on I-435.
I want to know. I don't want to know the monetary stuff. You also built a retirement
We
center.
built for senior citizens. Yes, sir.
Okay. You have a school.
We have a Christian school that's going into its 32nd year this year.
How big is the school?
This year, I think they're running around 200 and some students.
200 kids. What is the unique proposition of your school versus other private schools?
I think I know the God factor that we don't compromise on, and then our school, the whole thrust of our school is raising up leaders. As you know, the years we've been around each other, I'm real strong on empowerment, economic empowerment.
Give me an example.
When I say economic empowerment, I'm not talking about motivation. Motivation and economic or empowerment are two different things.
You're teaching them skills?
We're exposing them.
The skills.
Yes, sir.
And they're getting the motivation by osmosis. Just by being there, you think they're going to pick up motivation?
Well, you've been there.
I have.
And so I'm under the belief that just being in a place like that and staying committed to excellence, particularly for young folk of color who perhaps will never, or certainly at that point in their lives, have never encountered something of that magnitude that a person of color has jurisdiction over. So I think that is planting a seed. I think the capacity of the facility.
All right.
I think that plants bigness in their hearts. And then we are constantly teaching them and encouraging them that there's nothing that they can't do if they trust God.
K through 8.
K through 8th grade.
What happens to them after 8th grade?
After 8th grade, some of them go on to some of the Christian schools in the community, high schools. Some go into other schools around the city, public schools.
You lose touch?
No, sir. We always stay in touch with them.
Do most of them come Sundays?
Let me put it. They don't always come on Sundays when they finally go to high school.
Right.
But usually after they go to college and kind of experience life a little bit, they return back to
a lot of
ministry.
second generation legacy
Yes,
kids.
sir. Yes, sir. That's
So
a real joy.
A kid comes there for 6, 7, 8 years, goes his own way, but when it's his turn to become a parent, he says, might have been harsh, but man, did I learn a lot.
Right.
And I'm proud to be able to send my kids
Yes, sir.
there.
And I can't tell you the joy that I get when I'm looking down the hallway and I see that second getting ready to go to the third generation of kids in the school. That's a real joy.
Might be your greatest accomplishment. Might be your single greatest legacy and accomplishment is that generational commitment, not to you, but to the way of life that you have created for them.
Yes, sir.
That is huge.
Well, thank you for that.
That is huge. I mean, it's not about money. It's not about real estate. It's our legacy is what have we done? What service?
Right.
have
Who
we
did
provided?
you help?
Who did you help?
Right. Yeah.
And I got to believe you help a lot of people on Sundays. I really do. I think you're a powerful orator. I think you're passionate. And I think your message is unbelievably touching and motivating. That's a small fraction of what you've done. Without the school, your legacy would be bullshit. I'm telling you this as a friend. It would be like everybody else who ever ran a church
Yes, sir. Okay.
and never gave back.
Wow. Okay.
And never gave back to the community what they've been graced with. You have given back to the community more than you've taken out,
Well,
which is unusual for a pastor, bishop, head of a church to give back more than he takes.
Well, I think this is just my perspective. I believe ministry is birthed out of your journey in life. And so my life was, I didn't experience very often Christmas. I didn't get anything. I was hungry a lot. And if it hadn't have been for some of the older people in the community that would give me food or whatever, man, I'm not sitting next to you today. So when God blessed me to do what I'm doing, I made a promise that I would never forget where I came from. And I would always try to reach back and help. So the school is for anybody who wants to come, but I would be lying and not truthful if there is a soft spot when I see a kid who was somewhat like myself that would not be able to capitalize on the kind of education that we offer without partners, without people helping as well as we give. And then the senior citizen facility that you talked about, we feed people. Last Saturday, we fed 500 and something families. I'm not talking about individual, 500 something families.
Steve, I have a problem with organized religion because for me, organized religion is usually led by ego and greed. You are the exception that renews my faith in humans, God, and the whole relationship we have with God to give back, to serve our community, and give more than we take. You are living God's word. And not many people can say that. Now, do you drive a nice car? Sure. Do you live in a nice home? Yeah. Do you take vacations? Yeah. But you take care of other people first. And after they're taken care of.
Well,
hold on a second. You got 200 kids. How many of them pay to go to your school?
None of them pay what they actually need to pay to cover everything. So, and it's never, what they give in tuition has never covered the expense of the school for 30 something years.
So the school has always been a negative cash flow.
Always. We haven't earned a penny in 30 something years.
Out of the 200, are there 5 kids who don't pay anything?
We try not to have it where no family don't pay anything.
Yeah, because if you don't,
they lose. Right, we've done that.
Has no value.
Yeah, we've done that.
Has no value if it's free.
And it's amazing some of the things the parents will say when they don't pay anything. It's right. Like the switch doesn't come on. So everybody does something. Certainly, I do certain things that are never spoken, and there's others who do things that are never spoken. But we would probably, if we were to charge what we need to charge, we would probably lose 80-90% of our student population.
Right. So how often do you think about the journey? Or are you most focused on yesterday, today, tomorrow, or 5 years ago, 5 years from now, or 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years, 60 years ago, where you've come today, and what are you going to do for the final 20, 25 years of your journey?
To your question, the answer to your question, my greatest focus, and this is the God's truth, because I was doing something today in a certain place at the church before I came to see you. My greatest focus is what is it that I need to do that will make the greatest impact in the next 5 years?
You want me to tell you the answer?
I'm open.
Make sure whoever follows you has your same core values. Make sure your son, whoever preaches behind you, doesn't lose the focus of service.
And let me ask you this question, since you put that on the table. That's a real challenge.
Yeah.
Because our children, who we would love to take our place, but a lot of times they don't have the motor that we have, because it was our journey that created the motor.
Doesn't have to be your child, right? And what I've told my sons is, when your uncle and I retire, die, pass on, if you don't feel you have the motor to run the business, hire someone. Hire someone to manage you. Hire someone to lead you. You can make the big dollars as the owner, but hire someone to do the job that you can't do.
Well, I think
Because the worst
the church functions a little different than that. Even though it does have a business side, I believe with all of my heart that when it comes to the church, that's a God-appointed thing. And though I have latitude to make a lot of decisions, that decision, I believe, is totally up to God, which just simply means that just because it's a biological son, that doesn't mean that they're
He's
the ones
entitled
to take my place.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but he might be entitled to run the business side. Right? One of your sons might be entitled to run the school, or
Yes, sir.
and run the business and pay all the bills and bring it in and make sure those 500 families get fed.
Yes, sir.
But he might not be the powerful orator
Exactly.
with a passion
Exactly.
to lead the congregation, because leading the congregation, believe it or not, is only a small
portion.
Really is. It's the most visible. An outsider might think it's the most important.
That's why they think it's easy.
Right.
But it's not.
No. Being an orator and being passionate and having people, when you pass the plate, fill it up, is an important part of your business. But having the head of the church go around to the community to do the fundraising, to keep that school alive, to keep that retirement center going, that's a more important part of keeping the church open than just having the orator
I agree.
preaching the word.
I agree.
Right?
I
So
agree.
your greatest challenge is to figure out if it's 1, 2, or 3 people to replace you, and make sure your church is in the right hands when you no longer can do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I believe.
And I like to see it go into their hands, whoever those 1, 2, or 3 people is,
Before,
while I still can do
Absolutely.
it, so I can monitor it.
but here's the rub. At Big Bob's, I no longer have a job. I no longer have a responsibility. I have a voice, I have a vote, but I no longer carry the water. I've delegated and trained my 2 sons and my brother and some other management people to do all the heavy lifting. And I'm a spectator watching. I'm just a year or 2 older than you, but I hope to watch them for 10 or 15, 20 years
Or more.
where I don't have to do the lifting. I can just do the whispering and say, you could have done this different. Consider this next time, right? And not have to be front line. Now, you got too much juice to retire. I get that. I got to believe there is nobody in this country that you would entrust your congregation to, because your message is so pure and so passionate and so powerful. But you can't wait until you're crippled emotionally, physically,
Right.
Whatever, and you're only a shadow of yourself
Right.
before you find somebody else to hand it off to.
That's not good. That's not. Well, I'm sitting here enjoying you. Almost feel like I'm in a Godfather session.
Wait a second. Who am I? Who are you?
You're the Godfather.
No.
Yeah, you talking to Mike.
Right. Yeah. But anyways, I am one of your biggest fans, because very, very few people have taken no opportunity and been so successful on and off the playing field, on and off the business, family, and the peace they've made with their creator. What you've done is just so spectacular. I don't know why you are not a national treasure, because your passion is so much bigger than just a small congregation, a couple thousand people. I think it's amazing what you've done.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I was going to say earlier, when you talk about the things that I've been blessed by God to do, I want to thank you. I know we're on your podcast, but I just want everybody to know that our journey together. When I came to you, I mean, you could have easily said no. When I came to you about,
Why?
you don't necessarily have to be a why. You didn't have to give a reason to no or yes. But I came to you, shared my heart, what I was trying to do, was endeavoring to do, and wanted to lease out your space. I mean, you didn't have to do that. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you heard, but in certain circles, it was quite a big deal that you, being a Jewish man, had leased the facility on the other end of your business to a church.
Do you know I've been on the board of directors of an inner city church?
Oh, you were?
I was. First of all, I never see color.
But it wasn't about color.
What is your superpower?
I trust God. God is my everything. You already know that.
My superpower is being able to look at people and instantly know if they're good people or bad people. And I've made mistakes. I've made some big mistakes, but I trust my gift of judging good quality people above all other things. And when we first met,
Oh man,
I saw a pure force of nature.
yeah, it was like a knitting of the hearts.
It was a chemistry.
I call it divine.
It was.
I call it a God factor.
I was moved, as I am moved every time I'm in your
And
presence.
we've been that way for 30-some years.
And it is, maybe it's a blessing that I'm not with you more often, because if I was with you more often, I might not walk away every time feeling what I feel right now. I'm drawn to you,
Likewise.
as I am sure most of your congregants are but you've never preached to me.
Wow.
You just shared your heart with me. Um, and you are about as quality through and through as any man I've ever met. And I love you, brother. And I can't tell you enough.
Love you much.
Yeah,
Well,
friends for life.
we just kissed each other on television, man.
No tongue.
And we've been doing it for 30-some years. Yeah. No French kiss.
No tongue. What's going to happen next couple of years?
I'm working diligently right now, transitioning. When I say transitioning, I just had a meeting after I came out of a personal meeting with God, and I met with a couple who graduated from the same Bible college that I went to, and shares my heart to see where they were, because I'm not leaving, but I'm going to another room, and I'm wanting to make sure